All right, guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Omega, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. For those who have seen my my comeback video, I guess you could say, you guys will know that things on the channel will be changing a little bit. We will be going back to daily uploads on the channel. And the biggest thing we're going to be doing, actually, is we're going to be doing weekly reviews and breakdowns of every single Daima episode, Dragon Ball Daima episode, while it airs. So for today, we will be reviewing and breaking down episode 1 of Dragon Ball Daima, titled Conspiracy. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video, a bit of a different video. There's no gameplay, there's no Legends gameplay here. This is very simply just me yapping about Dragon Ball Daima for a little bit, because there's a lot to talk about. I have a few thoughts, but we'll get to those at the end. So the flow of how this is going to go, this is very simple. The first part of this video will be my breakdown of episode 1 of Dragon Ball Daima. I took quite a few notes on the episode. It'll be a step-by-step breakdown. I'm going to be talking about pretty much everything here. So spoilers for those who haven't watched episode 1 of Daima, I really recommend you do. It's a very, very well animated episode. It's really fun. So spoilers ahead. The second part of today's video, we'll basically just be talking about stuff we learned, speculation of what could happen later. But yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into our breakdown for episode 1 of Dragon Ball Daima, titled Conspiracy. So the episode begins with a reintroduction to both the Dragon Balls and Goku's story, including original Dragon Ball. So we have a few really nicely reanimated scenes from OG Dragon Ball. Specifically, the biggest scene is Goku meeting Bulma. It's a really, really nice reanimation, really nice like touch up and like modernization of how it looks. Really, really pretty. We also talk about Bardock and the start of Dragon Ball Z with the arrival of Raditz to Earth. So in that scene, we basically see the Saiyan pod arriving to Earth, Goku finding out that he's a Saiyan, all that good stuff. And also we have a really nice render of Bardock. It looks really, really good. So then we start talking about a new threat to Earth. This is what I call the conspiracy. And we also get some new characters introduced who have a connection to both Babidi and Dabura from the Buu Saga. The first character is Degasu. He's the older brother to Shinkai. And he is looking basically throughout the whole Buu Saga, like looking at like snapshots and scenes of the Buu Saga with another character called Goma. He's basically the successor to Dabura to becoming the Demon King for the Demon Realm. And something to note here is that they seem to have a really big disdain or like hatred of Babidi and Dabura. Like they're not really the biggest fans of how they ran the Demon Realm. But throughout them looking through the scenes and learning of what happened in the Buu Saga, they learn about Earth's Dragon Balls. And they're also shocked at the fact that Earth's Dragon Balls have 3 wishes and 7 Dragon Balls, because in this episode we are introduced to our 4th set of Dragon Balls, the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls. So the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls are only 3. They seem to be really big, so maybe in between Porunga's Dragon Balls and the Super Dragon Balls, they seem to be really big. And they're also protected by 3, I guess, robots, you could say, called the Tamagi. The Tamagi are the protectors of the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls, but they were created by another Namekian, another character that we'll get into as the breakdown goes on. Something to note here is that there are really good reanimated scenes of the Buu Saga. Again, spoiler warning for those who haven't seen the episode yet. We have a really good reanimation of Super Saiyan 2 Goku versus Majin Vegeta. One of the best fights in Dragon Ball Z, hands down, and they somehow made it seem so much better. Very good animation on that. We also had a really good animation on Buu's entry during the Buu Saga, Majin Buu, so Fat Buu. We also got a reanimation of the final explosion. So really, really good reanimations for the Buu Saga scenes. Very, very nice. Degasu also alludes to Goma getting a greater power. And this basically leads into Goma's coronation as the king of the demon realm, or like the pseudo coronation, because he's not fully coronated yet. We are then introduced to another new character called Dr. Arinsu. This turns out to be Degasu's sister, which means she's also sister to Shinkai. And one of the biggest things that she has is funds that were given to her by Dabura for some research and for power and for all that stuff. And one of the things that Goma does is actually threaten her to like take that funding away. But then Arinsu puts the fear of God into Goma by saying, hey, the Z Fighters beat Boo. And that's when we see the whole Super Spirit Bomb scene from the end of Z where he beats Boo. And that really, this really shakes Goma. And he fears that the Z Fighters will actually go to the Demon Realm and beat him up and like beat him up. Like, that's the best way I can put it. Like, just defeat him, send him to hell and all that stuff. And this basically makes him fear that his reign as Demon King that has just started is about to end. Like, it sends him off the edge, and like he's really scared and he talks to Degasu and stuff. But after that, he comes up with the bright idea to use Earth's Dragon Balls to weaken the Z Fighters by making them young. They also make the statement that each set of Dragon Balls has a sort of, I guess, what's the word I'm thinking of? They have a sort of alignment, right? So Earth's Dragon Balls seem to be a very pure set of Dragon Balls, so only pure wishes can be made, which in part, I guess, leads into the fact that we can't wish to be immortal with Earth's Dragon Balls, but we can do that with Namek's Dragon Balls. And one of the things that Degasu says when Goma says, hey, let me weaken the Z Fighters, it's like, hey, that's not a pure wish. That's a dark wish, and we don't know how Earth's Dragon Balls work, which is basically where Goma was like, okay, cool, I'll make them kids again. I'll make them weak, make them small, they won't be able to fight, they'll never get here. And then he also comes up with a second wish, and he's talking about gaining a third evil eye. Something that Degasu says is called the legendary Tertian Oculus. Basically what it's like is basically, Goma says that if you put it on your forehead, you get like this undescribable great power. And he also alludes to the fact that Degasu could get the third wish for the Earth's Dragon Balls. Then they start introducing the third Namekian, which was the creator, or not the third Namekian, the third character that'll go with them to Earth, which is Neva the Namekian. Neva created the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls. He's really old, he's really senile. You can see that during the episode. He stinks, he's giggling, he's not all there. He's definitely not all there. But the reason Goma is taking him to Earth is because he's very, very knowledgeable about Dragon Balls, considering he's one of those Namekians. I think it's, Dragon Clan Namekian? Those are the Namekians who can make Dragon Balls or like restore them. He's a Dragon Clan Namekian. So they choose him to go to Earth, and basically Goma walks off and he's like, I'm gonna work on my coronation. And then without them noticing, there's actually another character there, which is a character that's been shown in many trailers. I can't exactly remember the name of the character right now, but he has like white hair, blue skin. And again, I wrote down here new character unnamed because we don't have the name for him yet. So then we get the transition, which isn't really a transition. It's just a scene of the Demon Realm's castle with the little Dragon Ball Daima logo in the bottom left corner. And then we switch over to the second half of the episode where Neva, Goma, and Degasu are going to travel to the quote-unquote outside world, which is basically just leaving the Demon Realm. By this point, it's becoming more and more clear that this isn't Super. This isn't Dragon Ball Super, and I'll get to that in a point right here. I'll get to there in a second. But basically, they're going to the outside world. They're going to meet a young Namekian on Earth, which, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you'll know that's Dende. They meet this big robot fish, which acts as like a gate guard for the Demon Realm, and he like swallows them. And I know this sounds completely off the rails. This really happens. They have like this this little spaceship, which is really reminiscent to the one from GT that Goku, Trunks, and Pan used to go throughout the universe to gather their Dragon Balls. But they get into this ship, they fly up, the fish swallows them, and then it basically just pushes them out to Universe 7, which is our like classic Dragon Ball universe. They basically are like a crossing point between realms and all that stuff. So, yep, they decide to go to Universe 7 Earth, specifically there, and that's when they learn that Dr. Rinsu has actually already been to Earth before. Why? It wasn't revealed in this episode. We won't know, I'm assuming, until later on, so just keep that in mind. Back on Earth, we're actually celebrating Trunks' 12th birthday. I wrote here that this seems to happen after DBS Broly, but before Dragon Ball Superhero. But then they started talking about Buu and how Goku used Shenron to wish everyone forgot about Buu. And that's when I was like, oh no, this has nothing to do with Super. And maybe this was already like common knowledge. I didn't have common knowledge of it. I thought this was gonna happen somewhere before anything with the manga, the Super manga. So seeing this happening between, like this is a space between Z and Super, that's actually pretty cool. So then we meet Kibito and Shinkai, who are there in Trunks' party. And Goku's like, yo, y'all are separated, were you not fused? And here's where we get our third retcon to how the Potara work. So for those who don't know, the first continuity for the Potara was it's a permanent fusion, you can't unfuse, but somehow Goku and Vegeta unfused inside of Super Buu. The second retcon came in Dragon Ball Super, where Vegeta was fighting Merge Zamasu, but they were so powerful that it was actually causing the Potara to be unstable and unfuse them. So here, Shin and Kibito basically say, hey, Buu's body has like this gas that weakens the Potara, and that's basically why y'all separated inside Buu. Which is like, okay, to me personally, it's like, get your shit together with the Potara fusion. Like, there's a good likelihood that we probably won't see Vegito again in a long time, all things considered, because we do have Gogeta. It's an easier fusion. You don't have to worry about getting the Potara or the timing or the weakness and all that stuff. So there's probably a good likelihood that we won't see Vegito for the foreseeable future. That could be a lie. Again, this is the first episode of Daima, so there's no telling. But then we also have this really nice interaction between Goku and Krillin, who are also there for Trunks' party, where Krillin basically says, yo, how old are you? And Trunks says he's 12 and like he's small. And Goku reminds the audience, oh, Saiyans get a growth spurt when they're like 15 or 16, which it basically clears up the whole, oh, this happens before anything for Super, because for Dragon Ball Super Superhero, Trunks is taller, so is Goten. But here he's very much the Dragon Ball Super small Trunks. Like, he hasn't grown yet. He's 12. So after eating for a little bit, Goku and Vegeta basically just go up and they start sparring. And again, some really, really, really nice animation going on here. Very vibrant colors. I love the artistic choices that they're taking with this show. Their designs seem really, really sharp, which is very reminiscent of Ending of Z art for Dragon Ball. If you guys will know, like, the beginning of Z was still pretty rounded, still pretty similar to OG Dragon Ball, but as the Dragon Ball Z like manga kept going, or the arc, or like the, I guess, the period of time when Dragon Ball Z was running, you could see the art getting sharper and sharper as it went on. And this was very reminiscent of OG Dragon Ball Z. It was very reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z art style, and I loved it. I loved how the characters looked here. Also did notice a slight redesign on Goku's gi. I hadn't noticed it. I kind of feel meh about it. So again, it's just a stupid redesign, but basically Goku's gi opens up from the front instead of being a shirt. I think that's cool. It's more realistic to how gis are, but I guess I just had to like just nitpick there for a second. Going up to the lookout, which we haven't seen in a long time. Again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think we ever saw the lookout in Dragon Ball Super. If we did, cool, I can't remember right now. If we didn't, then this is a really nice throwback to Dragon Ball Z, being up in the lookout with Dende and Popo, who are basically watching the spar from really far away. They have this little telescope where Popo is looking at it. And then Goma, oh my god, what's his name? Degasu and Neva basically arrive at the lookout. They basically meet each other and stuff, and that's when Goma demands the Dragon Balls from Dende. And then Dende explains, hey, I don't know you, I don't trust you, but the Dragon Balls were used recently, and they're not ready to be, like, used yet. This is basically where Neva's introduction comes, and he's like, yeah, he made the Dragon Balls for the Demon Realm, he created the Tamagi, and then he also gathers the Dragon Balls while they're still in their cooldown state. They're still stones, which I don't think has ever been seen in Dragon Ball before. We've never seen a Namekian gather the Dragon Balls when they don't work. And then he also manually restores the Dragon Balls using his Namekian magic, which is like wild. This is stuff that no one has ever like thought of before. It's like, wait, what is happening? And even Dende is like shocked that this is that way. I could do that? Like, he didn't understand what was going on. Degasu then knocks out Dende after trying to summon Shenron, because he basically used the playback from the Buu Saga to be able to write down the summoning incantation for Shenron. He summons Shenron, and then Kibito and Shin sense the dragon's summoning, and they're like, what's going on? This isn't right. Everyone at the party is like confused. The sky is dark. They're speculating, could it be the Dragon Balls? And even Bulma's like, no, that it's barely been a year. The Dragon Balls are still stones, so they're not ready to be used yet. And then this is when Goma wishes for the Z Fighters to turn into first grade age children, and then the Z Fighters who are already children, like Trunks and Goten, they go back to being babies. And this was after Shenron was basically like interrogating them. It's like, what do you want me to do with, like, how old do you want me to make them? Which I thought was really funny. It's like, how old? And what about the kids? Like, what am I doing here? Which I thought was really funny. But basically, the episode ends with all of the Z Fighters turning into children, with the new opening song for Daima playing in the background, which was really funny because the scene seemed really drastic. Like, it seemed like all the Z Fighters were in pain. Like, Bulma drops her wine, Krillin starts screaming, Goku and Vegeta are being stretched and pulled until they're all tiny and mini, which, by the way, the forms in Daima are titled Mini Goku, Mini Vegeta, Mini Chi-Chi. Like, that is their title, basically. And the episode ends with Goku sort of making a fist with his small hands, and then we get a preview for next week's episode of Daima. So that's where the episode ends, and that's pretty much what the breakdown of this episode goes. I give it an 8 out of 10. Personally, there was a lot less of the Z Fighters than I thought it would be. It was really slow. It was a really slow first episode for Dragon Ball, which it's not unnormal, because the first episode of Dragon Ball Super was pretty much just catching up with everyone. And that's basically what this episode was. It was catching up with the Z Fighters, but also finding out where we are in the timeline, what we're doing, introducing the new characters, the focal points of this show, and finding out what is going to happen in the coming episodes. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about some talking points for this here, for the series itself. The biggest talking point we have is, I stated earlier, the placement in the timeline. So again, personally, and again, I still in my mind am thinking Dragon Ball Daima happens during Super's timeline, like during the Super events, the Dragon Ball Super events. Like, it has to happen somewhere in there. But no, I think it's pretty much confirmed that this is happening pretty much directly after Dragon Ball Z's ending, after the ending of the Buu Saga in specific. So this would be happening in that, like, I can't remember if it's a year after Dragon Ball Z ends that we basically have Super start. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm pretty sure it's a year after is when Beerus starts waking up and stuff. which this very well may be leading into that, but I don't know. So back to what I was saying. It's pretty much confirmed that Dragon Ball Daima is happening directly after Dragon Ball Z's Buu Saga. The wish for forgetting Buu ever existed or what Buu did happened already, and it's pretty recent since then, considering the Dragon Balls haven't been restored yet. Gohan is really busy with studying. There was a statement that Goku said, he's like, wow, Gohan's really distant, he's been studying. And then Shin Kai is basically like, yeah, I guess the fighting didn't give him enough time to study. So Gohan is not married to Videl yet, he's still in high school, he's still studying. Vegeta is back with his Saiyan armor, which again, I think that's what threw a lot of people off, because at the end of Z, Vegeta still had his like training gear, which I was hoping to see in Daima. I was hoping to see Vegeta with his like training gi, because I felt like that was a better look for Vegeta than the Saiyan armor. And obviously we have the separation of Shin Kai here, which for Super's time, they're already separated. We also have, obviously we have the kids, so Goten and Trunks, they're still little. So like, again, in Dragon Ball Superhero, they're taller and stuff. So they're still small. This is a very recent change, pretty much directly after Dragon Ball Z's Buu Saga. So that's the biggest thing to know. The second thing to note, we have another retcon to the Potara fusion. Not loving that. I'm very much not loving that, but we can't do much more about it. It is another retcon. This is Akira Toriyama's bread and butter. Retcons, rest in peace, obviously. But there's another retcon to the Potara fusion. We've also got, God, I had it in my head. I forgot it. Yeah, so okay, the timeline, like the place in the timeline, the Potara fusion. I lost it. Forget it. It's fine. But basically, like, those are some of the bad guys, right? The set of Dragon Balls. There it is. I had it and it left. The other thing we need to talk about is also the other set of Dragon Balls. We've never seen this Demon Realm Shenron before. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know how many wishes he has. We can infer from like context clues that he probably has less than 3 wishes, simply because of the fact that Goma and Desesu, I keep fucking up his name. What's his name? Degesu. Goma and Degesu are shocked at the fact that Earth's Dragon Balls have 3 wishes, and I think it's more so like, wow, they have 3 whole wishes, which I'm pretty sure is like a direct line from Degesu at one point, like at the beginning of the episode. He's like, wow, they have 3 whole wishes. So there's also protectors to the Dragon Balls, those being the Tamagi. They look really badass, by the way. They all look like robots, which is also a nice like touch there. It looks really cool. We also have the fact that this is a very, very clear homage to GT, if you ask me. From the wishing for Shenron to turn them into kids, to them having to basically travel somewhere. I'm assuming they're going to the Demon Realm, because this all has to do with the Demon Realm, to get big again. This is very much GT coded, and I'll understand if a lot of people don't want to give this show a chance because it's so GT coded, but I do want to say this is Akira Toriyama's final Dragon Ball project. Like, he was working on this when he passed. I feel like simply for his legacy, this is worth a watch. Again, so to close this off, I have gone for about 25-ish minutes. I give the first episode of Dragon Ball Daima about an 8. I love the score. I love the animation. The re-animations of older scenes look freaking clean. They're amazing. And I'm really looking forward to reviewing episode 2 of Dragon Ball Daima next week when it releases. So yeah, to finish off the episode, 8 out of 10. Please watch it. It is Akira Toriyama's final work. And with that said, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments of Dragon Ball Daima's first episode. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it mid? Was it boring? Let me know everything down below in the comments. And with that said, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please consider pressing that like button, subscribing, and clicking that notification bell to be notified any time that I upload. Having said that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace!